Hello, Trailblazers. Welcome to the final iteration of my training video of how I passed the Salesforce exam on my first try with ADHD. I'm coming to you from a slightly different office, that of a Zoom virtual background, so I hope you don't mind the blurriness. In the last video, which if you have not watched, please go and watch that right now before proceeding. This video is going to make a lot more sense if you do. I talked about the 3 stages of learning that maximize your time, brain power, and increase the amount of joy and fun you have while studying. Remember, those stages are learning, application, and testing. So in this video, I will lay out exactly what resources I used in each of those stages and how I used them to maximize my study experience. Another super exciting announcement, many of you know Yumi Kawai Nakasone. She has been instrumental in the founding of the Trailblazer ADHD Neuroforce community. She also has a Discord channel and is on LinkedIn. She's fantastic. You can join that Trailblazer community by searching ADHD Neuroforce Trailblazer community to join us on there. Her and I had a beautiful chat yesterday and have decided to co-create an app that will be available on the App Exchange, built on the Salesforce platform, of course, compiling resources for studying, basically most of the things that I'm going to be laying out here, and also a lot of resources that she has, compiling all of those things into one place so that you can really have them all streamlined in one place. There have been a lot of people messaging me and her and asking questions. How do we do this? So there really is a great demand for kind of having a place that we can just put everything all in one place, where it's customizable, where you can add resources to it on your own, where you can track your journey, where you can really customize it and make this journey something beautiful and unique to you and your unique brain. So please let us know by clicking the form below if you would like to be notified when that app comes out. It's just a simple form, put your email in, and then when the app is released, I'll send you an email saying, hello, the app has been released. Here is how you get it on the App Exchange. So if you want immediate access to that as soon as it comes out, please submit that form below so that we can get it to you. All right, let's dive in. So again, I'm going to be laying out the resources that I used in the way that I used them in the 3 stages of learning. This is the way that I did it, and it did work for me. And in combination with the tips outlined in videos 1 and 2, right? But again, this is not by any means the way. It's just what I did. And I encourage you to take it, question, would this work for me? Does it sound like it makes sense? And if it doesn't, tweak it until it does. All right. Okay, so first step is you really want to begin with the end in mind. Review the exam guides and the objectives, right? That's exactly what you need to know in order to pass the test. The exam guide tells you in no uncertain terms what you should be knowing, what you should be studying. Prime the brain to know what is most important to look for. So in stage 1, in the learning stage, this is where you're going to be first introduced to the material. You're probably going to have no idea what's going on. Especially in the first section, configuration and setup. There's going to be a lot of new terms. You're going to be learning on Trailhead. Wait a second, what is this setup thing? What is the sales tab? What is the service console? Like all of this stuff, you're going to have no idea what that is. So immersion is key. Remember, we are Salesforce sponges. We immerse ourselves in the platform. We get to know it as if it was like a person that we were beginning to date, or a friendship that we were starting. So it's best to involve as many of our senses as possible to help with that immersion. So for this first stage, I use videos. A couple of ways you can accomplish that objective. First, if you are in the Talent Stacker community, if you have signed up for the Talent Stacker Professional Development Program, there is a module in our dashboard called the Talent Stacker Study Structure. Use that. If you're not a Talent Stacker member, and if you're curious, it's an amazing program. There's a link below for you to do a free 5-day challenge for your Salesforce video. But for the purposes of this video, the study structure is basically, this is the section configuration and setup. For example, here's a list of videos that go along with it. And then here's how I'm going to review with focus on force, with tests, and with Trailhead, right? You can create this for yourself. It's really, really simple. So if you're not a Talent Stacker member, I would say just get out an Excel spreadsheet, put the exam sections, right? Configuration and setup, object, Lightning App Builder, sales, service, right? Put those out and then just like literally set a timer. And I mean it, set a timer. It's super important. I would say 30 minutes at the beginning. You can go and do it again once you're halfway through, but 30 minutes. Search Trailhead live videos and the exam objective. Copy and paste those links into the spreadsheet. Okay. So if you're in configuration setup, and one of the things that it talks about is like record types, or like the who sees what video series is a really important section to get to know, like, okay, is this object level security? Is this record? Is this field level? Is this page layout, right? Take a little time before you actually dive into learning the material to just organize yourself. Again, that's Trailhead live videos and then the exam objective. Copy and paste that in so that you can have that all together. And then at the beginning of each week, go into your calendar. I used Google Calendar and I would put in there, right, like completed watching this video. I can go back over my Google Calendar and see a breakdown of all of the videos that I watched. I can see it completed. Watch the record type video, watch the video on data loader, and I put the link in there. Again, it takes like an hour at the beginning of each week, copy and pasting exactly what videos I'm committed to watching that week. Okay. You can use the Trailhead live videos, or if you would rather kind of do that on the fly, you can set that aside and just not even have to worry about that. Another video course that I used, and honestly, this is a must-have. It's a must-have, is Dave Massey's Udemy course. It's called like Admin 2022 Pass the Exam or something like that. It's like $10 or $20 depending on how often, it goes on sale and stuff. This is not negotiable. Seriously, it's so like an affordable investment. And the way that he lays it out is an extremely strategic. He lays out his videos to be directly correlated with the exam guide. And not only that, he updates the course with the new releases. So you're sure to be getting the most relevant information. In there, he also has a spreadsheet to keep these organized and for you to check off the knowledge as you go along it. Have I learned it? Have I built it? Please don't try to do the admin cert without this course. I'm not an affiliate. I don't get paid for promoting his course or anything like that. I'm just a raving fan. Dave, your existence is important to the ecosystem. I am a lifetime fan. Again, that's Dave Massey's Udemy course. Okay, so that's for learning. Do the videos and again, involve as many senses as possible. Take notes while you watch the videos. For me, it's really easy to get like a little bit distracted just while passively watching, right? Like I'm listening to a course, and again, Dave Massey has an Irish accent, so it's very engaging, and I can kind of like, oh, let's jump into Salesforce and take a closer look. That helps keep me engaged just because it's a little bit funny. But again, like you want to involve as many senses as possible. So, oh, I've got my pen cup here, actually. This is so ridiculous. I'm going to show you, but it's a sheep because that's my favorite animal. And I have all of these colors in it. I have my notebook. I just got this really cheap, crappy notebook. I don't remember where I got it. It literally doesn't matter because the purpose of taking notes was by no means to go and make them legible or understanding. I never reread them. On a very, there's one case in which I did, which I'll tell you about in a second. But the point is that when you have pen to paper, when you are listening, when you are watching, when you're making connections, you can write down, hey, Caitlin Nguyen in the Trailhead Live video said, it's important to know this for exam. Oh, she gave me this cool acronym like FD or FOER or whatever it is, like for the workflow rules is like this cool acronym. I need to know this. Write it down. Put a star by it. And then what I would do is at the end of each day, I would go back on the notes that I took if it was a learning day. And I would look at the stars and I would immediately put them into an Anki flashcard deck. I use Anki over Quizlet because of the way that it refreshes your memory. Like if you get it correct, you can say if it was easy or if you need to review it again. If you said it was easy, it won't show it to you again for another 3 days. But if you said, I'm still learning, it's going to show it to you again. So it really helps you to commit things to memory, like get programming it into your short-term memory and then slowly moving it into that long-term memory so that, you're actually memorizing this stuff and not just passively taking notes. So again, watch the videos, take notes so that you can, like, by writing it down, 3 times the number of neural pathways are made in the brain. 3 times the amount. It might even be more. I might be getting that statistic wrong, but if I remember correctly, that's what it is. And it also prevented me from getting distracted, not having my phone out. Like literally, if I'm watching a Trailhead Live video, there is no reason for me to have my phone out. Put it in another room, turn it off. Excellent. And then to begin transitioning from the learning to application stage, I recommend daily small doses of flashcards and brain dumps. Okay. 15 minutes a day of flashcards. You can do more if you want, but minimum 15 minutes a day. Like literally, I can think of many a time that you can find 15 minutes a day, no matter how busy you are, just to do a little bit of flashcarding. Okay. And then at the end of the dump, a brain dump of what you learned that day goes a massive way in reinforcing concepts. Again, it's nothing crazy. Turn on a Pomodoro timer and go. A brain dump, again, watch the last video if you haven't. I go a little bit more into detail, but basically it's just like beginning to flex the muscle of regurgitating the information, not just passively taking it in. You write down what you learned that day. You can make an acronym, commit it to memory, but it's just a great way to get your brain to producing knowledge. Application stage, right? So you've learned the stuff, you've been watching the videos, you're kind of like, okay, like I can kind of understand what they're talking about. Then you can go into application. And this is where I used Trailblazer. So use the admin trail mix. This is the one that the Salesforce officially creates for admin studying for the exam. Do the trail mix. Don't just like go in and follow the steps. They do give you step-by-step instructions, but ask yourself at each step, what am I building here? What exam concept is this illustrating? How is this going to help me someday? Again, remember in the last video, I talked about making everything you build relevant. It can be so easy to breeze through the steps and just, do the thing, create the field type. Okay, it's a checkbox. This is the label. This is the description, blah, blah, blah. Skip the description because it's not required to pass the test or to pass it and get the points. Don't do that to yourself. Don't waste your time. Again, Trailhead is a playground. It's a magical forest. It's a beautiful place to really begin understanding what's going on. And we learn best by being immersed. So dive into Trailhead, spend some time poking around. Don't worry about, like when you first start, this is what I did. I created a playground that was called IDGAF. Okay. And I didn't care if I broke something, if I needed to fix it. I just went in and I didn't use it for any of the Trailhead like modules or playground or anything. This was just my place to go in and do stuff. Okay. Use it as a way to understand things. And the more experience you get, the more connections between different learning objectives you'll make, the more comfortable you will feel in real life. One thing I would do is after a module, I would ask myself, what's a real life use case that I could repurpose based on what I just learned? A great example of that is I was just going through like this random tiny Trailhead module that was like so easy. I should have done this at the beginning, but it was creating an app to help track all of your discoveries in the Salesforce ecosystem. And when I was finished, I was like, this is so interesting. I totally could put something together for like everything that I'm learning for like whatever. I'm always learning a bunch of random stuff. I could do this for Trailhead. I could tweak it so that it's not just Trailhead specific. I could expand it. I checked my LinkedIn. Yumi had sent me a message and we hopped on a Zoom call. And now we're repurposing and building that app to be something even bigger, that's even more customizable and has more resources, building out reports and dashboards. Again, this is going to be a longer term project and I go on a tangent, but bringing it back and making it relevant is that this app is repurposed from something very basic that I did on Trailhead. And it started by me just asking the question of how can I make this a real life scenario? Another example is after I finished my lightning experience super badge, which was the one on reports and dashboards, I was like, you know what? I would really love to be able to track my fitness stats. I'm training for a marathon right now, and I want to be able to know how fast is my pace improving? Am I actually getting faster? Is my aerobic capacity getting stronger? Am I gaining muscle as well? Training season is going to be a little bit different now that it's going to be winter. So how can I make sure that I'm not deconditioning myself? So I'm building an app with reports and dashboards based on a lot of the stuff that I learned in that super badge. One of your ADHD superpowers is making connections between random corners of the world, understanding things in a very non-linear way. We do this because we learn by getting lost in the weeds and finding our way back. Don't resist that. It's extremely powerful because it provides you with a depth of knowledge and intuitiveness with the platform when you really let yourself play without the pressure, and again, bringing it back to the trail, bringing it back to the exam guide, the foundation, the backbone. Super badges are great for this as well. In the application stage, once you've worked through the whole trail mix, that's what I recommend. Don't pressure yourself to finish them right away. I know you can get a lot of points and it can be tempting to show that off on LinkedIn, but honestly, I didn't find that I really even understood what was going on in the super badges until I had gone through everything. There's no pressure. Get to know the platform, befriend it, get comfortable with it. You'll save yourself hours of headaches by getting to know the platform first, even then the super badges are going to be challenging, but not like you're banging your head against a brick wall, headache status. All right, so finally, transitioning from application phase into testing phase. Right, testing phase is the third and final phase of the learning process. It happens within each objective. I'll just say, get in the habit of asking the question, okay, what am I creating? What am I building here? How will the user see what I'm doing on the back end? How is what I just did in the front end, in the user interface, how is that reflected and supported by what I created in setup? This helps you understand how to solution, because on the tests, on the exam, as well as in the real world, you're going to be presented with scenario-based questions, not how do you go into setup and change the profile? Which permissions are needed? No, they're going to give you a scenario. So get used to speaking in user language and not just Salesforce jargon. All right, so resources that I used for testing, first and foremost for me was focus on force tests. Again, there's two ways to do this. As you are going through, objective by objective, section by section in the exam guide, I recommend watching the videos, doing the trailhead modules, and then taking the tests one question at a time. So do a question and then set it up so that it shows you the answer after each question. Okay, the first time you do this, I just went into it literally assuming that the answer is probably going to be wrong. I decided it didn't matter just because I don't get it right on the first time. It literally doesn't mean anything. Tests are there to show me gaps in my knowledge. So I would go in, I would look at what is the question answering? What is the fluff? What is the bullshit? What is the stuff that I don't need? And what is the caveat? I would do the question. I would take like 2 or 3 minutes. And then if I didn't know what it was, I was like, whatever, just guess, show me the answers. Because in Focus on Force and also in Salesforce Ben, which I'll talk about in a second, they give you reasons why the question is wrong. Go through those answers one sentence at a time. Okay, why did I get this question wrong? Okay, what are the permissions that I need to memorize? What are the things that we're missing? Like dig deeper, ask, why is it wrong? Okay, I didn't know where something is. Like, for example, if the question was like, where would you find how to change the fiscal year? Or like, the Salesforce admin, it needs to adjust the fiscal year. How could the admin do this? And one of the answers is like, go into the sales app. One of them is go into the business settings. One of them is go into company information. If you got the question wrong, it's probably because you didn't know where to find the fiscal year. Okay, great. So go into the org, go into company information, go into company settings, go into quick search, find where the fiscal year is, commit that to memory. And again, this is all in the context of testing. You take the test, you understand where the gaps in the knowledge are, and you fill those gaps in right away. In the beginning, that meant that each question took 10, 15 minutes to really understand, but that's okay. Because after 10 questions, I had gone really, really, really deep to understand the concept that it didn't matter if I'd never seen that question before. Again, because it's scenario based. I understood the reasoning why I got it wrong. So I knew that I could take that knowledge with me into the next question and apply it again. It's a much more efficient way of learning, even though at front, like if you're just looking to take the test and get the questions, yeah, it's going to take longer, but you're also not learning. That's the reason why some people go in and they pass all the focus on force tests, but they're not able to pass the exam, is because there's a depth of knowledge that can come from that when you memorize the answers to the questions, you just don't get. Okay, also with Salesforce Ben Test, amazing resource. I recommend doing both Focus on Force and Salesforce Ben. Salesforce Ben, I would say that their verbiage is a little bit closer to what you're going to see on the test in the way that they phrase the questions. Focus on Force is a lot more technical and in my opinion, were more difficult to understand. So if you want to be taking tests, but you don't have as much cognitive brain power, Salesforce Ben is a really great place to go. And again, it's just good to kind of get used to different ways of reading these scenario-based questions, because on the actual exam too, it's different than both, right? Okay, so within each objective, go through, take the test, take the practice quizzes, one question at a time. Then once you've gone through all of them, I would say go and do the actual practice test, right? They give you an hour and a half. They get you a really better idea of what it's like to work under pressure. And again, you've gone through all the material, so you're going to have a little bit better of an understanding of what's going on. Okay, anything else that I want to talk about when it comes to tests? Yeah, so I passed, I think I got a 72 on my actual exam. When I totaled everything up, I don't remember exactly, but I was averaging about 75 to 80 on the Focus on Force exam. I would say I was comfortable with 80. Once I started getting 80s on those practice exams, I was like, okay, cool. I feel like I'm ready to prepare. I get the multiple choice question vibe. I'm going through, I'm comfortable with things. And then I took the web assessor practice test. Seriously, that was a lifesaver as well. Another thing, friends, get accommodations for your test. You can do this by going to the doctor, getting a doctor's note, and just get that accommodation, because seriously, if you have ADHD, or even if you haven't been officially diagnosed, but you know that you have trouble focusing, just go and get a doctor's note. It's so easy, and it's a game changer. So, alrighty, that is a wrap. This is a little bit longer of a video than I was hoping for. I'm not going to be linking any of the materials up because I mentioned so many of them, but I will be putting them in the app that again will be released in the app exchange. So if you want to have access to that, put your info in the form below so that we can send you a ping via your email whenever that is released. All right, so you've finished the trailhead, you've done the videos, you've built all the things. Create acronyms, create diagrams, commit them to memory. 25-minute sprints of just going and creating an acronym. And actually, I think I should do some videos on exactly how I did that, because I came up with some really fun and creative acronyms and flow diagrams and ways of thinking about things that were really helpful for me. When it came to taking my test. I took it online, so I didn't have any scratch paper, but because of the way that I had really committed to memory and been able to visualize flow processes, reports, data loader versus data import wizard versus all of the different tools that were there, right? To keep everything straight, I would say that that was one of the biggest reasons why I was able to as well, is because I had like after I understood everything, I memorized it. Another thing that you're going to want to do is do the Salesforce certification days. Just look that up online. They're about 5-hour trainings where they give you a really beautiful overview of everything that you need to learn on the exam. I did 3 of them, and every single time that I went through, they became less exhausting, less of an information overload, and more of a test of like, okay, cool. I know that thing. I know that thing. Cool. Okay. I'm going to put that in my flashcard deck to review. So anyways, I hope that that was useful. And I will see you all on LinkedIn, on the Trailblazer community, hoping that you are finding these videos so useful. And thank you all for the support and the subscriptions and the messages that I've been getting on LinkedIn, just saying that how helpful these have been. That really fuels me and makes me want to continue creating these videos for everyone. So, all right, take care.